But should we expect the Celtics to win this series?
I don't expect is like a strong word. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a 3-game series at this point, and the Celtics do have home court. They got to take care of the ball. I think particularly if Smart comes back and he does, he looked like the Marcus Smart he was when he, came back from his fight with the picture frame earlier this year. I think, we'll see him, I think the Celtics should be the favorites, especially if Marcus Smart comes back because, Shane Larkin has just been abysmal in terms of, plus minus. I think just because that size really does not, it's not really Shane's fault. This is just not the series for him. So to have Marcus Smart in there and kind of, plugging up these, that Band-Aid thing, I think these tight games will sort of swing in the favor of the Celtics, especially if they can continue to control the glass the way they have and they, do some minor adjustments like, maybe utilizing pump fakes a little bit more to get Thon Maker in the air because he's biting on everything, or things like that. I think Celtics fans, in spite of that, how bad that Game 4 loss was, I think the Celtics fans should still feel pretty good going into Game 5. I think if the Celtics lose Game 5, that's when you kind of start to panic. But I'm still pretty optimistic. I still give the Celtics a 60-40 edge to win this series, just because what they've been doing seems to be more sustainable to me than what the Bucks have been doing.
Yeah, I'm still leaning toward the fact that they should win it. I'm in that department. I'm going to stay over there. I want that extra series, even though it's probably not going to mean much. I think the experience helps. You still have Al Horford, who has played very well here, and that is a very important factor. Jaylen Brown has not matched Giannis's greatness, but he's very close the way he's played so far in this series. So even though the personnel's gone, the depth isn't there, there's still plenty of talent on this team. Marcus Morris has underperformed a little bit, as we've talked about. And the 2-0 lead, you had that 2-0 lead in this series, so that's still something I look to and say I'll just be a little bit disappointed if they aren't able to close this. Now, the expectations aren't there for this team to make a deep run without Irving, Hayward. I understand that. I've gone into it with Snotty dripping about that a little bit, but it's this series, Milwaukee, all the trash talk we had about them last week, the position the Celtics put them in early with the dominance they were showing, I just don't think it would be the greatest look if they regress to the point where they lose this series and lose it bad. If they lose in 6, as the Bucks fans are chanting out there, the national media is going to get into them, but I might have to get into them a little bit too. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I think the Celtics will really be in trouble, if they lose this first round series going forward. They're going to have to figure out a way to add, 2 All-Stars to that playoff rotation, and
there you
maybe
go,
some
the
top
rebuttal.
draft picks. Yeah, so I think if the Celtics, that's my panic move. That I just don't see how the Celtics could add to.
So I'll throw one more topic in the segment now if we're gonna take that approach to next year, because Cleveland, they're not in trouble anymore because they tied the series 2-2. That was a missed opportunity for Indiana the other day, but the East seems up in the air.
Oh, my God,
If you had to pick a team who was going to win the East right now, and you probably have an idea of who I'm thinking of right now, but if you had to pick a team to win the East right now, who would it be?
God, see, my brain says Philly, but I'm at war. If the Celtics play Philadelphia in the next round, I will die in the posting wars of 7. Sixers Twitter is going to light me on fire. I'm probably going to go to a game in Philadelphia just to see if I can be one of the fatalities in the rioting down
in the
there.
war.
Yeah, the soldier who died in the war. But I don't know. I know the Wizards. This thing has been a thing, but I still kind of believe in the Raptors. I think that the Raptors have been the best team in the East. They've had the best point differential all year. They still have some, top shelf talent. They've been in enough playoff series before. I know they've lost them, but they also have the requisite experience. I just don't think Cleveland, I think it's pretty clear, especially with Kevin Love looking injured, that Cleveland has the dogs to run in this race. They might get past Indiana, but I don't see them beating Toronto, and then I don't see, Philly or maybe the Celtics or the Bucks or the Heat, even, whoever comes out of that other side, I just don't think that Toronto just has so many options. They can go big, they can go small, they can shoot the three, they can play whatever style needs to be played, and they have, the star power, the experience. It just feels like it's kind of things have lined up for them this year.
And if that's what you're going with, that's what you have to hope for, because Toronto could be the team that's just in the finals this year, and then that's the end of their run. But just because of the nature of where they're at and their development, if Philly makes the finals this year, that's a whole nother story. And then there's momentum toward the LeBron free agency. If it's not LeBron, there's other big fish out there for them to grab. And for the people who are like, all right, we're running this back in Boston with all the All-Stars, another draft pick the year after that, Philly's progression might put a hold on that, and that's been a fear of mine all year long. So that is the biggest story to watch for the rest of these playoffs, besides how far the Celtics can hold out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, just to kind of see this Celtics-Sixers hasn't really been a rivalry since way back. You got to really turn the clock back. But, we had like Dr. J and, Larry just slugging each other. So that's like, it's very old school, a rivalry. But, it's going to be a real fun rivalry, division rivals. That doesn't happen too often. The Atlantic Division has been in a pretty sorry state, pretty much since the early 2000s. So to have, two powerhouses sort of rise at the same time, it's going to be interesting. If Philly does get that big free agent, they're going to lose J.J. Redick, who I think is important to their spacing. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys fit in.
You might add LeBron in his place, which won't hurt too much.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Like, how did Ben Simmons?
Would you trade J.J. Redick for LeBron James?
I would. But but I'm just saying, like, Philly kind of needs that spacing. I wonder what I'm going to be really interested to see what Philly does with that draft cap space, and what happens with their free agent if they kind of kick the can down the road one more year, to see what Markelle Fultz turns into. He's kind of the one that I think everyone's almost forgetting about a little bit. But their draft chest is pretty much empty. They've pretty much used everything. This Lakers pick is their kind of last chance to get something nice out of it. And the Celtics are just going to keep having, great picks. They could have, the Celtics could end up having like 3 picks or in the top 15 in 2019. So, and one of them could be 2. So,
and if they do have to kick back the can, this is all a conversation for another show. That helps out too. We'll throw this one back to the off season. We'll talk to you about it then. But for now, playoff analysis with the guy who does it best, Sam Sheehan.
Bobby, thanks for having me on.
That's episode 35. We'll see you when this series concludes.